Thank you for joining us, guys, today. This is the last session for today. We're going to be having more coming tomorrow. But before we finish, let's talk about filmmaking. I'm really happy to see so many of you are interested in this bachelor degree and the diploma. My name is Henry, and I'm one of the enrollment advisors for AIT in Melbourne. I would also like to introduce Thais, who is assisting our international students. Most of you were chatting with her earlier today.
Hey everyone.
Hi, Thais. And also one of the AIT graduates, Bailey. Hi, Bailey. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, how you going?
Now, Bailey will talk to us a little bit more about his journey later on. So we're going to reconnect later. And last but not least, we have Charlotte, who is another enrollment advisor located in Sydney, and will be looking after the chat questions throughout the session. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello.
Do you want to go through the housekeeping, Charlotte, for the questions?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Okay, so everyone, while Henry's giving his presentation, feel free to leave questions in the chat. Just make sure that we select everyone, not hosts and panelists. So there are two options. Just make sure you click everyone, then because many people might have the same question. Don't want to have to answer many times already. Great.
Fantastic. Thanks, Charlotte. Now, please make sure you ask questions throughout the session. Charlotte will be taking it as well for the end of it, for the Q&A section, and we will be able to have a proper chat with Bailey about some of the questions you are sending as well. Alrighty, so I would like to kick things off with a couple of inspiring stories about our film graduates. This is something that we are obviously very proud here at AIT. PJ has gone on to be director, producer, cinematographer, editor, and animator for various music videos and short films for multiple agencies since graduating with his Bachelor of Interactive Media in 2015. Audrey is a video editor and director working with brands, small businesses, and agencies all around Australia to produce branded content, TV commercials and videos, including Qantas, David Jones, Red Bull, and Ubisoft Australia. She graduated with a Diploma of Interactive Media in 2010. Wateba is a digital content creator and social media influencer with thousands of followers. His YouTube channel actually has over 3 million views. So Q graduated with a Bachelor of Interactive Media back in 2019. And we have also Robert, who has taken on an amazing opportunity with Aquarius Films, working on the SBS TV series, The Usual Suspects. Robert is working as an assistant editor with award-winning editor Katharina Barker. Paige won the Best Film at the AIT.motion event in 2019 for her film Wonder, and is now a proud partner of digital content creating small business called Untitled Creations based in Melbourne. And Bailey, who I mentioned earlier, who is joining us today as well, is working on the Emmy Award-winning production Nowhere Boys at Matchbook Pictures. There is lots of diversity in the skills you will be learning with our bachelor degree that will allow you to produce content for all digital platforms. The course is making you more adaptable to take on different roles, such as storyboard artist, branded content creator, as well as cinematographer, editor, or even a director. We teach for job placement and have currently 77% of employment rates. Our grads are working at these Sydney and Melbourne-based agencies such as Matchbook Pictures, Creative Foundry, Mind Console and Creativa, and many others. This is really important for us when we are, finishing with our graduate students by year 3, that they feel they are ready to actually start applying for the positions as well, and also for the placement they get from us. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the course structure. The Diploma of Interactive Media is the first year of the degree program in which you cover 8 subjects. The associate degree is usually 2 years and you cover 16 subjects in total. Lastly, the bachelor degree is doing all 24 subjects, usually over a 3 years period. Or you can get your bachelor degree faster by completing all 24 subjects over 2 years in the accelerated program. Now, each subject is a 3 hours class per week. plus 1 hour of study on your own at your own pace. You can take up to 4 subjects per term, which will be 4 classes per week in total. Of course, some of you might be working already more days per week. So if that schedule doesn't allow you to study that many subjects per term, fear not. You can enroll in less subjects, so it suits your needs as well. It's been mentioned today a few times as well. Our courses fees for domestic and international students are shown here on the slide. And we are approved for domestic students to offer fee help, which is one of the government's help students loan programs. Our courses are delivered in face-to-face mode, and students have also an option to join the classes virtually, which is really crucial. Again, something that was discussed early on today regarding the distance. So for students who are living outside of the main cities, Melbourne and Sydney, you are able to still study. You can join virtually as well. One of the reasons why our film graduates are so successful after they finish the programs with us is because you are really learning a unique mix of subjects that expose you to the different challenges and opportunities in a production, which is exactly what professional life is all about once you start working for certain organizations. In year one, it really gives you the fundamentals, and you are gonna, I always say, you're gonna get a taste of a bit of everything before you start narrowing yourself in a specific area. Then in your second year, you really dive into more details. And of course, the year 3, you can see that across 2 subjects, you'll be working on the Forge project. This is one of the main pinnacles of that year because it's given to you from our industry partners and industry panel, which you can see here. This is one of the previous industry panel we had for our students for the Forge projects. So that I mentioned earlier, these are some of the past panelists from within industry who provide critique, praise, and overall feedback to students about their work in that subject. Now, our students consistently rank as a finalist in awards festivals across Australia, but also around the world in recognition of the quality, creativity, and technical excellence of their work. We proudly recognize and celebrate their outstanding achievements. The following highlights represent just a small portion of the growing list of awards our students have received in recognition of their work. Our Initiate scholarship for domestic students gives you 50% of the first term and 50% of the last term. That is quite a substantial amount, and I encourage you to apply. Of course, the next intake would be February, but the scholarship applications have already closed for that one. So the next scholarship application would be for May. We also have an International Student Scholarship Award, and Thais will be dropping links to both scholarship details in the chat window for you. And you can also find this info on our AIT website. Now, again, something that we talked a little bit more about today already, the intakes are February, May, September. So each year you will have available to yourself 3 different intakes that you can choose from. If you are thinking of applying, it's pretty straightforward. We have 3 easy steps to enroll into our courses. All you really have to do is to apply, submit your documents, then complete your fee help details if you are a domestic student. Or for international students, our team will help finalize your visa applications as well. I can see today we had quite a few international students asking lots of questions. So feel free to jump on our website and definitely get in touch with us. Now, how to apply? ait.edu.au/apply-now. That's for the domestic students, or you can send an email international@ait.edu.au if you are an international student. Please make sure to reach out to us individually. You can contact me from Melbourne, Charlotte for Sydney, and Thais for any international inquiries, as I mentioned earlier. Now, if I can get Bailey back on the screen, and let's just dive right into it, because I know lots of students always, or lots of viewers who are today, they really want to hear from our graduate students. So let's just jump into, how are you, Bailey?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you so much. And I'm really happy that you could join us today. Now, you were assuming, obviously, studying with us filmmaking, but let's talk a little bit more how it started, what year did you finish, and which campus you studied?
For sure. So I graduated from high school in 2015. I had no idea what I wanted to do I knew that I loved film. I knew I loved film from a young age, but I didn't really know whether I wanted to study or where I wanted to go. I ended up seeing that AIT had the scholarship program running where you could get the portion at the start and end of the course. And that kind of stood out to me. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty big amount of money. Maybe I could just have a look and scope it out. But I'm from regional Victoria originally, so I wasn't a Melbourne person by any means. I'd never really seen the city, but my partner Paige and our friend Monique, the three of us went up to check out the AIT Melbourne campus, which was new. I'm pretty sure that was its first year in 2016. And we got a tour of the campus, and we showed my portfolios to them, and on the spot they said, wow, the three of you can get in. And I said, these are just my folios. Each of us have all these folios. We were all very, very creative at that sort of stage. And the other two who were just coming for moral support said, maybe this is for me as well. So the three of us actually ended up signing up together, and as like a little cohort of friends and Paige and I dating, we ended up doing the course together, which was Bachelor of Interactive Media, majoring in film. So like you were saying, in our first year, we still got to dabble in graphic design, animation, concept art, and of course film. Which was good for us because we had these folios that were really diverse. We had video work, we had design work. We didn't really know where we wanted to go, but we kept getting told by everyone, choose a niche and stick with it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Do you think...
want to do at all?
Oh, sorry, I think it was cutting out a little bit. Can you just repeat the last sentence you mentioned?
Yeah, I was just going to say that wasn't what we wanted to do at all. We're not much about choosing a niche. Some people it suits, but for us, we love having a diverse range of creative opportunities and to mix up our work life and try new things all the time, being creative. And the AIT course that was offered was very much so, especially in the first year, allowed to like let you explore each of those sort of creative opportunities and see where you want to go. And there was game design as well, and at a pretty early stage I went, no, that one's not for me. Like, you know, you could kind of test it and try it and go, this one works, this one doesn't. But yeah, I ended up sticking with film, and so did the others. And yeah,
that's a really good point actually, because I think many people forget that when you start the first year of your bachelor degree, it doesn't feel like you have to choose or you know how to choose right away. And in that first year, like you mentioned yourself, you really dive into kind of even different areas. And I always actually say that to students as well, that some of it you will like more than the other subjects, but that's actually a good thing, because in your year two, you will be much more prepared. So that's definitely, I'm glad you're mentioning it, because that's such a good point. Now, the course is trying to be, we were trying really hard to make sure it's practical. It's not just theory. You are not watching 8 hours of educator or lecturer who will be just talking about stuff, showing you PowerPoint presentation. So tell us a little bit more about the practical side of it. How was it for you throughout those 3 years?
So from the get-go, I would say we were pretty much learning software for different things, whether it was Illustrator for design work or Premiere for video work. We were kind of getting taught those hands-on things from the get-go. It was very much ingrained in the course. Of course, we learned things like about the theory side and why you make certain artistic decisions, and what the reasons are for using different software over this software and all of that. But I think a lot of the teaching, especially because the mentors and lecturers are industry people, it's easier for them as well to teach with the tools in our hands sort of thing, rather than sitting at a desk and listening to the information and then spitting it back out. Honestly, my brain just goes in one ear and out the other, but when I have something in my hands and I'm working, I'm like, oh, this is how I do this is how I do that. So I definitely think it was pretty hands-on in terms of getting to get the practical side of it and not just worry about the theory-based stuff that doesn't always click with people. I think it takes a special person to be able to sit there and just listen to someone for hours and hours and hours and then walk away with all that information. So it definitely was a help for me to be able to get my hands there, starting to make things from the start.
Brilliant. Now, was there anything throughout those 3 years that you feel like was really memorable to you as a staff? We mentioned the dot motion. Was there anything that was kind of highlight for you personally?
Yeah, well, there was a few big points. one was the winning the scholarship. Each of us won the scholarship for our film work in the first year, and that carried over to our last year. But also the film that we made a few films. I made a documentary called Paint Me a Picture, which kind of explored artists' interpretation of gender roles. It was very artsy and very out there. And I loved it. It was crazy. And we got to interview some really interesting I'm losing my words. Artists in Melbourne. And then there was another film that we made as well. We made a music video, Things That Burn. And I think both of those are what won us a spot in the Sydney Dot Motion Awards. So not just the Melbourne Dot Motion Awards, but Sydney, the sister campus, actually picked it up and said, can we show this here? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's see if they like it. And then we get a phone call from Tamara, I think it was, up in Sydney, and she goes, how would you like to come up here and accept the award? You're going to win something. How would you like to come up here in person and accept it? And we said, oh, we can't afford that. We can't be doing that. And she goes, no, it's all paid for. We're going to pay for your flights. I'm pretty sure we got accommodation and maybe even like a food budget. It was pretty fancy. Wow. But we went up there and we were shaking hands with all the industry panelists that were on the board to hand out the awards, people from the industry. I think it was someone from Afters, which is a high up established master's university in Sydney, that gave me my award. And I'm like, what's going on? It was crazy. And even the kid from Paper Planes was there to watch our film. I don't even know what was going on. It was crazy. And
that would be pretty overwhelming, I can imagine.
Yeah, but it was incredible. Not overwhelming in the bad way, and more like, wow, we're not even out of uni and this is the sort of life that we're living. So yeah, I feel like that was definitely a high point. But also in Melbourne, just after we graduated, we were asked to host the Dot Motion Awards in Melbourne. I think it was the inaugural Melbourne Awards ceremony. So we'd done a little bit of presenting just for things like, we have our own film festival that we run in regional Victoria for youth. So we've done a little bit of public speaking in that sense. And they said, would you like to come up and try that here? Which is very, very different because it's in Melbourne. And again, there's industry people there. One of my old bosses was there in the crowd, and we're up there in my like little button up black shirt. As you can see, I don't dress up too much. And we had to run the event, and that was a little bit more daunting, but also very rewarding. So yeah, those are that I really loved.
That's awesome. That actually brings me to a question, because we often, discuss with students about the exposure to the industry. And I always kind of mention that that's part of the program as well. But how did you feel when you were finishing year 3? And you kind of mentioned it now, obviously, because you were shaking hands with these people in Sydney and from these studios. But through the events, through the stuff you've done, how did you feel that made a difference between you finishing just the program and actually entering the industry on your own? Did it help?
There was the course Launchpad. So Launchpad really helped us get the mindset of, you are no longer students. You need to start thinking of how the business side of this works and how you're going to get income out of this, and how to approach people for work as well. That was a big part of our Launchpad. I think that class really helped set us up. Launchpad, kind of thinking, what was life after being a student? We were students for 13 years in primary school and high school, and then we went straight into uni for 3 years. And it was kind of like we've never lived outside in the real world, really, besides opportunities through AIT that let us work on different film projects. So I think that was really a big help in getting us mentally prepared, more so than physical connections and everything. There was a little bit of like collaboration on how we could get jobs and things like that, and connections in that sense, but definitely mentally, the lecturer running Launchpad was like, you need to focus now. This is what you need to do. And if you have questions, ask it now, because it's a big old world out there and you have to pay bills somehow. So yeah.
Perfect. Now, at the end of the program in year 3, you are basically able to choose between the industry placement, which is the internship, or industry project. How was it for you? What did you do? And eventually, how did you decide to go with this?
So again, that was with Tamara in Sydney that we were talking with. And she called me up one day and said, I have a possible internship if you're keen. If you don't want to do it, don't feel obligated. And I was kind of like, I was nervous, obviously. Of course, you're going to be nervous about working in the industry for the first time. without your lecturers there to hold your hands, and without my team, you know, my partner and our friend to work together. We worked together on pretty much everything. So I was a little bit scared, but I thought, you know what, let's just see if it works. And if not, it's an internship. You know, there's no loss to them. There's no major loss to me besides, you know, my dignity. But I didn't have too much of that anyway, so I was happy to go along with it. And it was the best experience I've had. The people that I met there, incredible, welcoming, very nice. I worked on Nowhere Boys season 4 in part. So I started out at casual, doing things like taking things from A to B, helping making props like fake rocks or, you know, fake sort of like spells and stuff. I started getting given some design work. And they said, since you have design skills as well, maybe you could, you know, make up these posters and make up this, make up that. And it got to the point where I was doing so much design work that they said, we don't really have time for you to be not doing design work. So they offered me a paid position. And that's after my internship was meant to be 3 weeks, and they extended it to 6 weeks with my permission. And then they said, we have to pay you from this point on. We can't just pretend like you're not working here. You're working here at this stage. And I was wrapped. I was like, I would be happy to keep doing this for free, honestly. I'm meeting everyone. And I think they could see that I was really keen and eager. And because I had so much excitement about different areas of film, the production designer there, who I got along with really well, and the art director, he actually let me sit in the writer's room because he knew that I had an interest in writing as well. So I'm in there listening to the writers plan out how the season's going to end and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm sitting there like, whoa. And I think they could see that I was a bit excited. So they look over at me and they go, what do you think? Oh, yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, through that, I then got internships for Paige and Monique, who also went to AIT. And then they started doing internship work there while I was working in a paid role. The show ended, and then I ended up working with the same production designer and art director on another TV show that landed on ABC, and now I think it's on Netflix, The Investigators. And yeah, that was pretty cool as well. That was a paid role as well, doing graphic design work, a little bit of set dressing and things like that. But yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's incredible. I actually didn't even know that the internship or the placement got extended for you. So that's just fantastic. And if you think about it, your first day in the internship, and you wouldn't know, obviously, it's gonna take you so far with this.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Now, I'm also aware you were working on the movie Wonder, right? When you were studying with us.
Yeah.
The project was quite popular and known. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? How long did it take? And take us a little bit through the whole project.
For sure. So anyone that knows me knows, one, as you can tell now, I ramble, I talk a lot. And two, I'm a massive control freak. I love having my own ideas, running with it and running the show. And my partner, Paige, she's more or less the same. We both got this big drive to create and make content. And this was her film that she wrote the script for, and we all voted on which script that we wanted to be developed. We all wrote a script for a possible film idea. I think what happened was she was just really passionate about this idea, and mine just kind of this one you could see had made potential. It had feature film potential, honestly. The way she was writing it, it felt like it was a proper cinema sort of film that we then had to reduce down to a short film. But yeah, Paige was the director, writer, and I think she ran camera for part of the project as well. And then my role was as production designer. So I was doing a lot of the, prop design and finding locations, bit of location scout. When you're in a small team, you really have to put multiple hats on. It's different when you're in the industry and there's a whole, team of people that have specific needs and niches, as everyone tries to push us into. But for this, we kind of got to talk to people and say, hey, I want to shoot a film in your office space. Can we use your office space? We'll have this amount of money. The AIT gave us a budget. I can't remember the number, but they gave us a certain budget that allowed us to rent spaces, pay for permits to film in public. With councils, you have to pay permits for some areas. So we were filming in like St. Kilda at Red Bluff on the beach. We got actors that we could pay. Those actors now are doing crazy stuff. One was on Neighbours, one was in the Sydney Men's Opera, another is a blogger, and she went to Burning Man just before COVID. I don't know, just like wild situations that we got put in with it. And I can't remember the exact length of how long it took, but it was quite a hefty project. We were working for months on it, trying to get it perfect. And yeah, people loved it. It was kind of post-apocalyptic, think Divergent, or not Hunger Games, but you know, those sort of films.
Yeah.
And the whole question of whether or not, you know, the government is controlling us with chips and stuff, which now looking back is like, wow, did we think of something with the vaccine? No, I'm just kidding about that. I am fully vaccinated. Everyone should be. But yeah, it was quite a large project, and people did love it. They really ate it up. And I'm pretty sure that at the inaugural Melbourne ceremony that we hosted, we won Best Film for that award as well. So we had to step down while someone gave us the award, and then we put the award down, and then we got back up and
hosting it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Forge project sounds kind of, you know, when you were picking the location and obviously having certain budget, now working in the industry, do you feel it was realistically showing what it's going to look like when you work on the real project from the companies?
Well, as what we do now, I'm a digital content creator. So Paige, Monique, and I ended up running, we've started a small business doing content creating work. And what we did on Wonder, compared to some of the jobs we do now, was even more detailed than what we do. It was an incredible, like, we put a lot of work into that. I didn't solve that either. But yeah, the amount of work that we put into that is certainly the peak standard of what we do as a business now. And yeah, I would say it definitely opened our eyes to just how much work has to go into every little role. And it's funny working on the TV shows, seeing like hundreds of people that are working on this one kids show. And I say, wow, it's crazy how many people here. And everyone else in the office laugh at me and say, this is a small production. This is like one of the smallest productions I've worked on. Usually it's thousands. And I'm like, where do you all go? Where's all the offices?
I mean, the scale would be incredible sometimes when you would be working on these big projects. That's just would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, crazy.
Awesome. No, that's really good. And, you know, the Forge project, again, such a highlight of the whole program, 3 years program. And no matter to how many students we kind of talk to, they always say that it really changed the way they were looking at it before they start applying for jobs. So I'm so glad you were able to talk a little bit more about that as well. Now, I will bring Charlotte to the discussion and see how we're going with the chat, because I could see there were things happening.
There are a few things happening. It's a little quiet today, but I've got a couple of questions from Susan and Rochelle, if I'm pronouncing correctly. So Susan asked to you, Bailey, did you study the 2-year accelerated or 3 years? And is studying 2 years a huge ask? So, yeah.
So when I started, I don't think they offered the accelerated. If it was there, I would definitely have done it. Only because it was quite hard for us, because we're from regional Victoria, and Melbourne for us is 3.5 hours away. So what we were having to do was travel to and from quite a bit until we got housing up there, and it was a bit of a mess. And because we didn't have a full week of classes, it was kind of like, oh, we can keep coming back down, oh, we can keep traveling. And there was a lot of travel going along, an absurd amount of travel. Whereas if it was the accelerated program, we were working, you know, full time up there doing the course, we would have pushed more to move up there. Probably would have saved us a lot of mental anguish of having to travel to and from. But to be honest, on the train, it's a good chance to do your homework. So there is always that as well. But yeah.
So you didn't move to close to the campus, you actually stayed remote the whole time?
Yeah, until I think it was the second year, we got an apartment, and we finally, did the move up there. And while we were doing that, we were doing like odd jobs as freelancers, as individuals. And then Paige herself, she would travel back. She had a job down here that she would come and go from. But after university finished, we stayed in Melbourne. We still live in Melbourne now, but because we have our own business, because we have back to Melbourne and in regional Victoria, we kind of travel everywhere all the time now. So for instance, just before Christmas, we had 4 clients. 3 of them were down here and 1 was remote. So we had to go down to regional Victoria, worked with each of those clients. 2 out of the 3 were face-to-face, but 1 needed us in the area anyway. And we were working up until the 24th of December and then started work again on the 26th of December. So that's also because we're workaholics. That's not something you have to do if you go into this industry. I'm not trying to scare people into thinking that's normal by any means. But for us, it was kind of like, well, when there's work, you want to do work. So, and it's fun as well. I don't really feel like I've worked a day in my life, considering that it's all been creative. I've only really done creative work. I'm very privileged for that sense. I'm very aware of my privilege of doing something that I love from the get-go. But yeah.
Yeah. Did you accept any work that like covered the cost of you travel? Like, have you ever have you? Oh, great.
So one of the jobs, if it's in the area that we grew up in, we don't usually charge for traveling from Melbourne because we come back to see family and friends anyway. So it's kind of, it's not too much skin off our back. But one of the jobs that we were working with was about 40 minutes further away from our hometown. And we said to them, because we're coming from Melbourne, then having to stay in Sale and then going out to Bairnsdale it was in, we said we're going to have to add a little bit more money on if that's all right. Let us know if it's not, we can figure something out. And straight away they said, for sure, you add, I think we each got an hour extra, which is, for that client, it was $80 an hour each. So they were just kind of like, yep, no worries, let's do it. And because a lot of our clients are council related or government funded or some sort of connection to councils usually, they're all usually pretty happy to pay those extra fees. They understand that it's,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, just related to that, Wafa Saye just asked, what's it like staying in Melbourne for work? Like, what's the climate like?
Oh, Melbourne, yeah. Yes, Melbourne is amazing. And Melbourne is, I don't want to bad talk Sydney, but I feel like Melbourne is the creative hub of Australia. I'm just saying, it is it is amazing. I love it. There's so many creatives, especially if you're in like the north side, looking at like Brunswick and even Coburg. It's just like art city. I love it. Everyone that we've worked with there has been very progressive with their views and supportive of local businesses and creatives. Pretty much everyone that we work with, it's for things like towards youth groups or towards I don't know, food sustainability, or a lot of the things that we do are very like environmentally conscious or supportive of LGBTQIA plus community, or all sorts of things. We work with a lot of different sort of groups that really are about positive change in the world, which is not also because we're seeking it, but just because once you start it and word of mouth gets out there, those groups say, hey, you did that, let's do this, let's do this. So we just kind of like fall into this pocket of wonderful people that we love. And yeah, Melbourne people just know, they love that creative stuff. They give us so much freedom to do what we want. And, they'll give us like basic brief and ideas and say, this is what we need. And we'll say, this is what you need. This is going to like take you to the next level. And they're like, all right, let's do it.
This actually really, speaking of, you traveling and having obviously meeting your business partners, different locations. How is it with the equipment? Because I can imagine when you started, it would be a very different story to what you actually have now, what you are using now. But also students, when they're starting with us, sometimes they are not certain what they need. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How was it for you?
How was having like assets that we need?
Regarding the equipment that you could use from the campus and the stuff that you actually had to purchase after you finished the bachelor degree.
So when we were at AIT, the equipment that we had ourselves was pretty basic. We relied pretty heavily on AIT equipment, and even a little bit just after AIT, we still had a few jobs that we were connected with through her, and she actually said, as long as you pay like the deposit and everything and cover costs, we can let you like lend you equipment and connections to where you can rent equipment from places in Melbourne. There's a lot of places that you can rent really high quality equipment for like $10 a week. It's incredibly cheap. Digi Direct is a good place to start. I can't think of the other one, Dragonborn, something like that. But but now since working, obviously we've gained our own equipment and slowly bought our own things. And then through COVID, we started a community initiative. We did a bit of volunteer work for a food group that was giving food relief to families that were struggling through COVID. because we were in the northern suburbs, the more north you go, the worse it was early last year. So we were working with them for free, making content, and we ran a marketing strategy that raised $7,000 just to donate food to people pretty much. And from that, we were then connected with a health group where they paid us they didn't pay us, but they gave us a grant to buy new equipment so that we could run our project, which was promoting Fawkner. So Fawkner is a really far north suburb just above Brunswick. And we were creating content for businesses that were struggling in COVID, that were trying to make content to say, hey, we're in lockdown, we won't be open this week, or who were trying to like push their services more while they were, because people obviously weren't out and about throughout the lockdowns. So I think the grant that we got was $7,000 to buy equipment and to get training. Any equipment and training that we wanted, they just had to confirm it, and they didn't question any of the stuff that we got. So now we're working with things like, we have a drone, 360 camera, we have gimbals, mics, lights, cameras, kind of the works. We have everything, you know, new laptops, phones. So obviously that wasn't all through the $7,000.
Yeah.
But, yeah, a lot of that was covered through that. And only the other day on one of those jobs in December, we used the drone, and just having that made us hundreds of dollars more. So it's an asset that we've continued to keep after the project's finished as well. And that's through our volunteer work. So we always push when we run our youth film festival, or we also now run youth film workshops online in collaboration with councils and freezer youth groups. So what we always say to all the participants in that is volunteer where you can, whether it's an internship, whether it's just offering your services to a small business nearby. When we first started, our first logo we made was for Paige, my partner, for her cousin's business. We made him a logo. It got put on the side of his building, huge. They based the whole design of the building around it with the colors and everything. And now that's on our website, and you know, that's something that we can be proud of and go, wow, that looks great to us. And people think, wow, that's pretty good. At that stage, we were only I think I was 18 when we did that. And people thought, wow, that's pretty incredible. Obviously, we didn't get paid for it, but the money we've got back since then, and the connections, and also the knowledge and the talent from just doing the job, yeah, the best thing you can do. But now I'm a workaholic, as I was saying before. So I have had to make it a rule that I only volunteer for 2 projects a year. This is something that I did debate with Paige, because I was just going too hard at it, being like, I have so much time, I can do this as well. I can help this group while I'm working for this group. And yeah, I've worked on a few things like Tilda, Melbourne's Trans and Gender Diverse International Film Festival. And then through that, I made a film with people from the community. And our films were played at MIF, which is, yeah, MIF, I don't think they're running this year, at MIF. And then it was also in Boston. And then it was also played in, I want to say Milan in Italy. It went to somewhere in Italy as well. So we had a few, you know, those volunteer roles have then progressed my creative career as well, because now I can say I've had films shown international level in film festivals. But yeah, see, this is what I mean. I ramble. I talk a lot.
Don't worry. That's what we are here for.
Good.
So we can ramble as much as we want to. One thing I want to ask you, this project, so obviously each scale is different, but on average, what you currently are undergoing, how long these projects take? Is it a matter of 6 weeks, for example, or some of them are going even into months?
Yeah, so the projects do definitely vary. So the content creating business that we do covers video production, photography, basic 2D animation, graphic design, and then a whole other list of things like with the drone, aerial shots and photography, videography. We do a lot of different things. So it depends on the job. Some things it's like, it might just be an edit job that they want done in a day or two. Other jobs, it might be, can you just do a photo shoot and then we go back and edit the photos? So that would be like a 1.5, 2 day job. The most recent job that I just finished my share of for the business yesterday ran for, it'd be 5 weeks. And that was another content marketing strategy plan, working with a youth group down here, creating content just to promote healthy eating and better healthy lifestyles for young people. And for that, it's kind of like we could share the work as much as we want. So there was animation aspects, Monique did that. There was photography and photo editing, Paige did that. there was a little bit of video editing. I did that, graphic design, we all kind of dabbled. And we kind of just try to share the load around as much, and whoever's feeling like they're under too much pressure or don't have enough time, because we had 4 jobs going at the time, we kind of just had to keep passing the back and forth. So yeah, that was a 5-week project, and out of that, I think the budget that we were given for that was 10,000, and we're still just under budget. And that's at the same time as doing 3 other projects that were like decent pay. Each one of those was over 2 days each.
Okay.
So that was, yeah, doing drone photography, videography, workshops, face-to-face. And then Monique was also website designing. So
Great. Now I can see we have a couple of questions from our attendees. There's a question from Phoebe. How did you manage? That's a good one. Sometimes I wonder as well, how can students manage this one, studying and working at the same time? So did you find it challenging? And I know it's been a few years, but how was it? How was the journey for you juggling between work and study?
So for me, the main work, the best paying work that I did was through the internship, when I eventually got paid work out of that. And they were pretty good with flexible hours, in terms of they wanted me to work every day of the week at that stage, so I could kind of get it done quicker. But I said, I have uni 3 days a week. Can I do 2 days a week of work? And they said, can you do 2.5? So I was actually leaving uni to go, and then go to the production to do design work. And then the next 2 days I would work as well. But because it was all more or less the same sort of work, like I was saying, I'm not a fully typical man creatively. I didn't really do much. I wasn't going to a retail job, or I wasn't on television by any means. I was kind of doing the same work, and because it's creative, it doesn't feel like work. So a lot of the pressure was really not on my shoulders. Of course, there were days that I was stressed and I had a lot to do, but it was quite, I don't know, I find it therapeutic to do creative work. Whereas Paige, she worked in retail and hospitality, and for her, it definitely was a drain. And because she was working back in Sale, like 3 hours away, the drain was more so from the travel than the work itself, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people, especially our international student friends that were at AIT at the time, they were working crazy hours, and they were getting some of the highest marks. They were doing really well. So I think as long as you find interest in the subjects and have more of a passion towards what you're doing and what you're learning, you probably won't find it that difficult. If anything, you'll be more like, I can't wait to get a job so I can start doing what I really want to do. And that's more likely the way that it'll go. Yeah.
Perfect. Now one more. We have only a few minutes left, so I'm going to keep it short. But I think Charlotte was mentioning there was one question from Wafa.
And from Wafa, he asks you, why do you make films? And remember, running in 10 minutes.
Why do you make films in 10 minutes? All right. So from an very, very early age, I'm an only child. You could probably tell by the rambles. But I was always very interested in film. I was glued to the TV. My family were always like, why are you watching that idiot box? I love it. I love film. I love how it can change your views on things. I love how it can change your mood. It can inspire. I think we all watched Harry Potter and walked away thinking, am I going to get a letter in the mail? Am I going to Hogwarts? Like, it's ridiculous and it's not going to happen, but there's that tiny part of you that holds the belief back and goes, maybe that is real. Maybe that is, and you take away the messages from it all, whether it's conscious or subconscious, and you kind of develop as a person based on what you view. The media that you intake becomes you, and what you are becomes the media as well. It's kind of this endless cycle. So I think, like a lot of creatives, the reason that we create is to not only show who we are as people and what our beliefs are, but to hope that it kind of sparks something in other people, whether it's interest, inspiration, or change. I would say that's probably the main reason why I make films and why I do design. Plus, it's fun. I have fun doing it. If I didn't enjoy doing it, I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to pretend that I'm the richest person in the world and that I couldn't have found a job that would make me $1 million. If money was the pursuit, then I probably wouldn't stuck with film. You have to have passion and drive as well. Definitely. Not to say that there's not good money in it. That's for sure. But it's not the main focus, and it's definitely not the reason why I stick around doing it. Yeah.
This is one thing we always say to students: you need to have passion for it. Sometimes there is this understanding that you need to be talented. Talent is questionable thing. Sometimes it's not something that you can just point at and see this is it. And I think it's really lots of practice and repetition and getting better and better. But definitely, like you just said yourself, you are very privileged because you don't feel like you are working. It's more as every day you are creating something, and as long as you are enjoying it, obviously there will be days when you will be hating everything and everyone. Can imagine, as it sometimes is. But as long as you are enjoying what you do, this is the main thing.
Yeah, and also there's also the kind of thing of people think that if you're in the creative industry, you have to be really outspoken and outgoing, and that is not true at all. People are not always like me and happy to talk and talk and talk and talk. There are a lot of people that I know that I went to school with at AIT that walked away and got roles in positions where they're in an office and they're doing their editing and they're doing their animation and they're, in their own world, in their vibe, doing their jam because they want to. Whereas I was on the opposite side. I love meeting people, conversations. And just through the film work that I've done, I've filmed people that are ex-convicts. I've filmed people that are have gone through terrible tragedies. I've filmed people that are high up in education systems, politicians. Like I've kind of met so many different people, musicians, and I love that. I love that I meet weird and wonderful people all the time. And for me, because our job is so diverse, no day has ever been the same, regardless of whether it's, oh, this is a video job, so it's going to go like this. Never, never, never. It's always completely different, and the people that we work with are always different, and we feel like this kind of it's very fluid. The business is very fluid in movement and change, which
actually on that, Bailey, like how did AIT prepare for that diversity?
Definitely through I would say the first year was probably one of the biggest like light bulb moments for me, because I went, at the end of it they said, okay, now which one do you choose? Do you choose film? Do you choose animation? What do you want? And I kind of went, oh, I still love all of it. I still love all of it. And obviously we talked to the lecturers and said, oh, it's so hard. How do we choose when we love it all? And the best thing about the lecturers and mentors there, they said to us, if you have drive and passion, just do what you want to do, and eventually that's the work you'll end up in doing. I don't think any of them thought we would start Untitled Creations, like our own business, but I definitely think, without realizing, that kind of got us saying, okay, so we do like this and we do like this and we do like that. Maybe there's a way we can turn that into a career pathway. I see you've got our website there. If you scroll down, it should say the different categories that we work in.
Actually, believe it or not, I'm not on your website. I have a little video.
Oh.
So what I'm going to do, and this is the last bit before we let everyone go, this is actually about your company, Untitled Creations, and I will play a little short video, if that's all right.
Ah, bless.
Awesome. So this, I understand, is just some of the work you and your partner Paige been working on under the business, right? You are on mute.
Pardon? Sorry.
So this is some of the work you and Paige worked on under the company, right?
Yeah, so there's a few shots in there that we did actually capture, I think maybe just at the end of AIT when we worked on some documentaries. But most of it is work that we've done since then. There was a wedding in there. I forgot to mention that we've done a wedding as well. And the music video with the fire twirlers, that was also definitely a peak. We did that while we were at AIT for a Melbourne band. So yeah, definitely done a lot of different sort of things.
Brilliant. Well, I don't see any more questions at this stage. Bailey, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming and having a chat with us and with everybody who had questions as well. And I think back to you, Donna. And thanks so much, Charlotte, as well, for helping with the chat and navigating through it.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thanks, Bailey, so much.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. As we have no more questions, we might finish up for the rest of the day. Just a quick reminder that we have more sessions tomorrow from 12 until 3, where we will be covering game design and also IT across mobile app development and games programming. So make sure to tune in, keep safe, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. See ya.